I knew it was going to be hard, ne? I knew it was going to be difficult.
Yes, I knew it. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna be difficult.
But I don't think I anticipated just how much. Hi guys, I am Kumalo and welcome to my channel. If it's your first time here, welcome, and if you're coming back, thank you so much for your continued support. If you're wondering who this girl is, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I'm a lawyer, but at the core of all that, I'm just a girl who loves to talk and share about her different life's experiences. Guys, thank you so much for your reception to me coming back to YouTube after being away for a while. If you haven't watched my previous video, go back so that you know why I was away. But long and short of it is that I went away and I came back as a mother, and I'm so excited to share my journey with you guys. And today we start sharing that journey. So I'm going to be sharing my pregnancy journey. I need to make a few disclaimers, ne? Number one, I know pregnancies are different, right? So the fact that I experienced a certain thing doesn't mean you will experience the same thing, or that I'll experience that same thing again in my subsequent pregnancies, right? So I know pregnancies are different, so I'm not saying this is the blueprint of pregnancy, but I really just wanted to share the raw and the behind the scenes of pregnancy, you know, the stuff that you don't see in the cute bump pics and, you know, the pregnancy shoots and you know, behind all the glitz and glam and the glow in the skin, the stuff that goes on in the background, the stuff that I went through in the background. Yeah, and secondly, I know that to someone else who had it worse, they might listen to this and think, pregnancy wasn't that bad, she's exaggerating. But for me personally, what I went through was hard. It was hard on me. So I'm not claiming that I had the most difficult pregnancy in the world, but the presence of pain, or the presence of more pain for other people, doesn't invalidate the presence of my pain and how I felt it and the magnitude thereof. So let's get straight into it. Maybe let me start with how I found out. Shame. It wasn't ceremonious or like climactic or anything. So what happened is my husband and I were, you know, trying for a baby. It hadn't been forever trying, but we were in the journey of trying for a baby. And I remember on that particular day, it was a Sunday, it was around 10 p.m. And I think I had gone running. Guys, let me digress a bit. I had started a fitness journey where I was starting to be a runner, you know. I hate running. I've hated running since, but I started being a runner. So, and then I got pregnant, and then that went down. Anyway, I'd come from a run earlier in the day, so I wanted to take like a bath, like, you know, the fill up the hot tub, put bath salts and soak in the type of bath. But since I was trying for a baby, and you know, if you're pregnant, especially in the early days, you shouldn't take like very hot baths because it can cause your temperature to shoot up. And I'm not a medical doctor, so I don't know the science behind it, but basically it's not good for early pregnancies. So I was like, just in case I'm pregnant, I don't want to go into a hot tub and then something happens to the baby. Let me just take a test. So I took, like, you know, the cheap dipstick test, you know, those tiny strip ones, those ones. Put it in there, looked at it. I didn't even wait the amount of time that I'm supposed to wait. Waited for maybe a minute or two. I was like, okay, fine. It's not thingy. Then I continued. And then, just as I was about to throw it in the bin, I saw like a very faint line. And I was like, is that what I think it is? I was like, am I? Then I was like, no. You know, you're not pregnant until Clear Blue says you're pregnant. So I'm like, let me go and get the real McCoy, the Gabadia of the pregnancy test. So I had like Clear Blue tests in my drawer. So I went and I took that one. I first took the cheaper version, you know, the one that like just gives you a plus sign if you're pregnant. Put that one in, and like in no time it came back as positive. I'm like, oh shucks, so I actually am pregnant. And like I didn't even get everything happened so suddenly. I didn't even get, you know, an opportunity to be like, okay, let me plan like this cute pregnancy reveal for my husband. Nah, I immediately called, because I was upstairs in the bathroom upstairs. I called him and like, bruh, come and see. And he came. I'm like, it appears we're having a baby. And we sat there for a bit and we're like, oh wow, this is actually happening. It was 10 p.m. so it was like 11 p.m. for my people in back home. So like my mom was already asleep, but I don't remember if I called my sister or I sent her a picture. I don't know. told my sister, and then I told a few of my very close friends, about 2 or 3 of my very close friends. And yeah, we just sat in that moment, and just basked in that moment. And then following morning, I was like, I know Clear Blue cheap said I'm pregnant, but I want Clear Blue Premium to say it. So I went and I bought like the one that shows the number of weeks, and I tested, and then it says 2+ weeks. So for those who don't know how it works with pregnancy, is that when you test, pregnancy is counted from the first day of your last period, right? So when you test it to say 2+ weeks, counting from the day you conceived or ovulated. But once you go in to your doctor, they're going to change that to and add about 2 weeks, because generally there's like, if you have a regular cycle, there's like 14 days between the first day of your last period and the day you ovulate and conceive. So where a test might be showing 2+, the doctor will make it about 4 weeks, counting from the first day of your last period. So yeah, and then started the journey of pregnancy. So what were my thoughts or expectations about pregnancy? Like, I knew it was going to be hard, ne? I knew it was going to be difficult, but I don't think I anticipated just how much. Like, in my head, difficulty in pregnancy was morning sickness, or just nausea, not wanting to eat certain types of food, and then maybe later in the third trimester, the baby's gonna be heavy, it's gonna be hard to walk. But in my head, I was like, it's gonna be, for the first couple of weeks, it's just about food and appetite and all that, which is fine. But apart from that, then everyone tells you that the first 12 or 14 weeks are hard. Then after that, the second trimester is like, you're gonna glow, it's gonna be beautiful, and all the pain of the first trimester will be gone. You're going
Hey, hey, hey. Yeah, queen.
Let's get into it. Let me start with the good stuff. Let me not ruin it. Let me start with the good stuff. Good stuff. My hair grew. Can you guys see these locks? If you watch the last few episodes, or maybe 1 or 2 episodes of my podcast before I left, you remember that I had like very short locks. I had literally just started my locks. I think I actually got those locks installed 3 or 4 days before I found out I was pregnant, and my hair grew so much. Generally, my hair grows fast, but I do attribute its growth mostly to the hormones. Then the second thing is that I used to pray to God and be like, Lord, there are people I know who've gotten pregnant, who are very beautiful women, ne? Got pregnant, and their faces changed and they never recovered. I know everyone says, no, don't worry, it's a mask of pregnancy to go away. And usually it does, but there are a couple of people, guys, that I know that got pregnant and they never recovered. So I was like, Lord, of all the things that could happen to me, please may you preserve my face. I know it sounds vain, but like I just didn't want to. Like, I was like, Lord, preserve my face. And God, in His goodness, heard my cry, because I had zero skin issues, you guys. I had zero pregnancy acne. I did not have a single pimple from pregnancy, and my skin was clear and glowing. Maybe right up until maybe about 37, 38 weeks. That's when I kind of got like that black mask. So it starts from like I think it started on my belly first, and then it spread to my breast, and then it like came up my neck. But then by like week 30, like by week 33 or so, I was already a potato at home, so I didn't mind what I looked like, because I was fine. Also, it wasn't bad. It literally like just came like right around the edges of my face, but for the most part, like my face remained unchanged, and I was like, yeah, that's So I was grateful for that, and I'm also a person who has always small in my life, but at the one time where I started gaining weight, just after I got married, I gained a lot of weight, and it was hard to bring it back down. So that's the other thing that I was like very anxious about. I was like, Lord, I don't want to gain too much weight. I don't want the label of mama, mom body. I don't want that. Nothing cute about that, If it ends up happening, unfortunately, well, but I really did not want to gain a lot of weight, because like losing weight is hard for me specifically. So I knew that I was going to gain weight. Like, there are very, very few people who go through pregnancy without gaining any weight. So I knew I was going to gain weight, but I didn't want to gain a lot of weight. And thankfully, I didn't gain a lot of weight. I think by the time I gave birth, I was only 10 kgs heavier. So including the weight of the baby, the placenta, the amniotic fluid, and the extra blood that you get when you're pregnant, I was 10 kgs heavier than before pregnancy. So when the baby came out and the placenta and all of that, it already dropped me significantly. And I think by month 2 or so, I was already back to my pre-pregnancy weight, which is great because I need to like go further down. So it gave me a good baseline to start with. Whereas if I like gained a lot, it would have been like MS. So those were the positives. As far as I can think, those were the positives. And maybe I could add that also, I didn't really struggle much with food apart from the first trimester. I didn't struggle much with food. After I got through that, I could eat basically a lot of things. I didn't have unrealistic or weird cravings, stuff like that. My appetite was pretty normal after I got through the first trimester hurdle. So now let's get into the deep stuff. I'll go with the obvious first. So I did go through, the food aversions the first trimester. So for a good number of weeks, I could not eat like proper cooked food because the smell of any spice would just put me off completely. So I couldn't, if my husband would cook, it would smell, any type of cooked food just would smell terrible. And then when I could stand my spices and stuff, I could not take meat. Like I hated meat. Like just the smell of meat was enough to make me gag. And then when I got through that stage, I preferred beef to chicken. Chicken also was just like a no-no. So beef was better. But eventually, I think by month 7, I was back to eating everything. But rewind to the first trimester. For a couple of weeks, I could only eat dry food. So like bread, or food that had like no flavor. So things like oats, I lived on oats, I lived on cornflakes and milk, and then like bread or buns and tea. I didn't really have bad morning sickness, thankfully, but like I think for about 5 or so days, weirdly, around 14 weeks, for about 5 or so days, I was throwing up. Like I would eat anything, it would come out. Rice Krispies come out, cornflakes come out as they are. So yeah, I did struggle with that for a bit. But apart from that, the food part wasn't that bad, and I didn't have weird cravings like I said. The only thing that I really liked were speckled eggs, and my friends Soji, Tandi, and Zandi, they did a number for me. Each time they would bring me speckled eggs from SA, they brought me speckled eggs. Thank you guys, I really appreciate it. And then later in my pregnancy, I really liked an Oreo McFlurry, but I wouldn't call that cravings. It was just like stuff that is nice that I like to eat generally, and I just used pregnancy to blackmail my husband into going to get me Oreo McFlurries at 11 p.m. because I could. But yeah, I didn't have any other weird cravings and stuff. So on the food side, there was a bit of turbulence, but it was manageable. On the physical side of things, guys, even when I think about it now, I'm like, Lord, you tried me. So I remember vividly, these things always used to happen at midnight or close to midnight. Anyway, it was around 10, 11 p.m. again. I remember feeling on my back, felt like I was being stabbed on my back. And it also felt like my muscles would tense up and then release, and tense up and release. And then I was like, let's go to the doctor. So we went to the A&E, and the doctor took me in, did his exams, and obviously asked a lot of questions. How far along am I? Do I have this or this condition? What else am I feeling? And I was like, okay, everything kind of looks fine, but how I can explain it is that there's this hormone called relaxin, which is produced or released in pregnant women to like loosen up their muscles and their body to make space for the baby and to prepare for labor. But this usually happens like late second trimester going to third trimester. I was probably about 8 or 10 weeks in, so this was very early in my first trimester. So I said it usually happens that late, but for a very small number of women, it can happen much earlier, and it looks like you're going that route. So what this means is, unfortunately, it's just going to get worse and worse. This pain is not going to get better until you give birth. It's just only going to get worse. The only way you can manage it is to exercise and to stretch. And for the pain, you can take paracetamol. Guys, niyazi paracetamol. Like even today when I see paracetamol, I don't even want to see it because to me it felt like it's a pacifier. It felt like it's supposed to be a mental thing where you feel like, I'm taking painkillers. But that thing did nothing for me, you guys. And for those who don't know, when you're pregnant, you're very limited in the number of pain meds that you can take because they can be harmful to the baby. So I could only take Paracet, which was very, very useless. So how this relaxant problem presented itself is that fine, there were the upper back pains that had already started, but it quickly spread to the lower back. My lower back was always excruciatingly painful and on fire, you guys. So bad that I needed like a massage every single night. It was now a ritual of ours, me and my husband, that every single night we'd get a massage because that's the only way I could cope. And then it spread to my hips. And it's not like flesh or muscle pain. Like, it literally felt like the bone itself. Like, because I remember I used to like hit my hips like this to try and get to the bone. It's feeling like if only I could like reach the bone and like massage the bone. I've never broken any bones, but I would imagine that breaking bones, that type of pain of breaking bones is what I used to feel. So like my hips were excruciatingly painful. And when you're pregnant, you have to sleep on your side. So can you imagine? I can't sleep on my back. I have to sleep on my side. I can't sleep on my stomach as well. Must sleep on my side, but my hips are painful. So it was that bad. And then the gabadia of pain. Pubic bone pain. If you don't know what the pubic bone is, Google the anatomy of a human, of a woman, and check what the pubic bone is. Right. It felt like my pubic bone, it felt like it was cracking, like the type of, that's how I can describe it. It felt like my bone was always cracking. And even to date, I still have pubic bone pain. It's not as bad as it was when I was pregnant, but I still have it. It felt like my bones were cracking. It felt like a sharp stabbing. And I remember on one day, our friends had visited and they left. So I was walking from the door to the kitchen. On my way there, everything just locked. Like my pelvis, my pubic bone, my hips, everything just locked in place. And I couldn't move. The scream I screamed. The scream I screamed. Or screamed. Everything just locked. I was in serious pain. I couldn't walk. I couldn't move an inch. My husband literally had to carry me all the way upstairs and put me in my bed. And then I could not move. Like, I couldn't turn in bed. I couldn't sit up. I couldn't lie down. I couldn't get down the bed. Remember, I'm pregnant, which means I need to go to the toilet a gazillion times. And then I couldn't move. It was so bad that my husband had to go and get adult diapers. Well, my bladder refused to use the diaper. It was like, I'm too grown for this. So don't ask me how we got through it. But I did not pee on myself. But don't ask me how we got through it. But it was that bad. So, and then from there, it was just downhill from there, guys. I was in constant back, pelvic, pubic pain until the day I gave birth. Like, I can't, if I can tell you the number of times I cried, if I could bottle the tears that I cried during my pregnancy, you guys, it was something else. And because of the pain that I was in, it put me in a weird position because I felt I was supposed to be in a season where I would be joyous and enjoying and living in this bubble, but I found myself so sad. Like, I don't think I got depressed, but I found myself so sad. Like, I used to cry a lot, and now I used to feel guilty about the crying again because I'm like, but this is a blessing. So it's a mixed feeling. So you're crying because of the pain and you're like, Lord, I want to take this pain away. But also you're like, but this is a pain that comes with the beauty of a blessing. Am I ungrateful for crying? Like, what is going on, And as a result, because also I also couldn't like move around. Even just my desire to be around people like tanked because I couldn't sit up for long. So I always kind of had to be in bed lying down, which means I withdrew from my friends completely. I wasn't going out and I stopped going to church physically only at some point because I couldn't sit for longer than a few minutes at a time. And so it kind of also affected my relationships because I just didn't want to talk. Like, where possible, I would rather have been sleeping than awake. So I was emotionally unavailable because I would rather be sleeping, because if I was sleeping, then I couldn't feel anything, and if I couldn't feel anything, then I was fine and I couldn't cry. But yeah, it was a very trying time for me, I think, emotionally and mentally, because it became a very lonely season where I felt like even if I talk to anyone, yes, it's nice to talk about it and you get some release, but ultimately after that conversation and after the stories, I have to carry the pain myself, and it was so bad, and it was so sad also watching my husband being helpless, because apart from giving him massages and like completely taking on the role of doing everything in the house, bless his heart, you guys, cooking, cleaning, everything, he did all of that, which was great. But apart from that, he was helpless. Like there's nothing that he could do to take the pain away. And it was so sad watching him being helpless, and I was in so much pain, and I was constantly crying, that it was so bad that we got to a point where I remember we had a conversation where he was like, the way I've watched you suffer, I don't know if I can watch you suffer like this again. So basically we were talking about, we don't know if we want to have another kid again. That's how bad it got, because we're like, this kind of pain again. Needless to say, I'm going there. Nobody can stop me. Ooh, I'm going there. Yes, guys, I'm going to have another kid, Lord willing. Another one, and another one, and maybe another one, and maybe I'm joking, not like a gazillion kids, but like I'm definitely gonna have another kid. I digress. So yeah, that was the physical and the mental toll it took, and then on top of that, right? I think during this time I really saw that the devil will throw anything that he can throw at you to steal your joy. Like there was always something that in the middle of a beautiful season would make me break down and cry, and would make me sort of regret putting myself in that position. So first trimester, I was so anxious. Am I going to lose the baby? They say 1 in 4 pregnancies ends in a miscarriage. What if this? What if that? So first trimester, I was like always anxious, and as a result, like we put a lot of like scans, private scans, just for the assurance that okay, the baby is alive, the baby has a heartbeat. And then first trimester, I got through that first trimester, the devil threw another thing again. Now I was worrying, okay, what if my baby doesn't have a finger? Or what if the eye is shut? Or what if they have some like genetic problem, like Down syndrome, whatever? We went for the test at 20 week, the physical, the anatomy test, and the genetic test. Doctor said, sharp, young right, your baby is fine. Now I'm like, okay, fine, the baby is fine. But some people lose their babies at like 24 weeks, like they have like a late term miscarriage. What if I have a late term miscarriage? I go through that. I'm now literally at the point where I'm like, I'm at term, and now I'm now worrying, what if I have a stillbirth? What if the baby is born, but then the baby has jaundice and this and that? Like, it really felt like the devil kept throwing stuff for me to be worried about. And I actually want to talk about this because yes, the devil. I think the devil wanted to steal my joy, but I also kind of blame myself because of the type of media that I consumed. So I watched like a lot of YouTube videos and Instagram videos of people sharing their experiences, some that had resulted in miscarriages or babies with disorders or stillbirths and all of that. And you know how the algorithm works, right? You watch one thing, it keeps spitting up the same thing to you over and over again. So as a result, I ended up going down a rabbit hole of all the things that could go wrong. And I adopted and co-opted those stories and made them mine, even though everything and all the evidence suggested that everything was going fine. So if I would change anything, I would be very careful of the content that we consume, you guys. Whatever medium it is, it can really mess with your head and steal your joy, and you find yourself worrying about things that you have no business worrying about. So yeah, the next time I'm really gonna steer away from that type of content. It did a number on me. Did not do me any good. In my head, I was like, I'm watching so that I'm prepared. Nope. If it happens, it happens. Let it happen on its own. Don't add a catalyst to it, or yeah, just stay away from that type of stuff. So yeah, that was the physical side, and then as if that was not enough, I was told like I was high risk for preeclampsia. It's a high blood pressure problem thing that can happen and cause you to have to give birth early, or Google it if you don't know it. So I had to take aspirin from week 20 until week 36 every night. I used to take aspirin. That's the other physical thing that happened to me. And then I had like these spells, these dizzy spells, right? Where first I would feel like a sort of like a blood rush of some sort, and then I would overheat and I would break a sweat, and then sometimes I would like black out ish, not fall to the ground, but like black out ish or zone out. Actually, I did like proper pass out one day in church, but apart from that, I used to like almost pass out, and then I would come to, and then I did test, and then they found that my iron was low, so I had to take like iron supplements. Retested a few weeks later, and turned out that like my iron had barely shifted, so I ended up needing like proper iron infusions. Yeah, but to be fair, I've always been like mildly anemic, or so I was told when I was in university, but it was one of the things that I never paid attention to. But it really like came out to play when I was pregnant. And then again, because of the bone and physical pain that I had to do physiotherapy because that's how bad things got. So I am grateful because I have paramedical aid. I'm grateful that I was able to like do physio because I think it did help. I mean, the first one or two visits that I went, I remember thinking, "Hi, my daughter, this is just a waste," because she was just stretching me and teaching me how to sit and yeah. But I think it did help in a small little way. It really did help. So I think if you're struggling with that, definitely look into physiotherapy. Yeah, as far as I can recall, I think that is my experience of pregnancy, which is that um, I robbed myself of enjoying what was a beautiful experience because of all my worries and my anxiety. I didn't allow myself to attach early on to the baby. I didn't want to. I didn't want to feel all the feelings and then possibly have them stripped away from me. You know, I didn't want to attach and then have to detach because something has happened. I've lost the baby. In hindsight, that's really sad because it was such a beautiful thing that I should have fully experienced, but it is what it is. I didn't take as many pictures as I would have loved to, um, mainly because I kind of had to stay at home most of the time because of all the physical pain. So I just didn't have the energy to be out and about and looking nice and cute and taking pictures. Sadly, that is the result of all the pain that I was in. But there are a few things that worked very well. So I did say earlier that I slept. Guys, yeah, I recommend sleeping. And like in hindsight, I'm so glad that I slept a lot, guys, because in Motherville, sleep is it's a foreign concept. It's a foreign concept. I even forgot that I was drinking something here. So I slept a lot. It helped me, I think, with my mental health. It's not a good thing. Sleep is a weird thing because you can use it as an avoidance tool, which is not very helpful because when you wake up, your problems are still looking at you. But also, sleep, guys, it's like a painkiller. You don't feel anything, whether physical or mental. You don't think. So that really worked for me. Community came through for me, you guys. I remember there's a day when it was a Sunday. I remember I had a knock on the door, opened the door, and my friends Zandi, Tandi, and Sepi were standing there. They had bags. They had bags with food that they had cooked, meal prepped for us, and a bag with cleaning supplies. And they're like, "We're here. We're at your service. Tell us what you do." And they literally turned my house upside down. They cleaned everywhere, and they'd cooked for food for us that would last us about like a week or so. So shout out to community, you guys, for carrying me. And when they're not carrying me physically, they carried me in prayer. They carried me in checking up on me. They carried me in sending thoughts and prayers my way. Really, really appreciate that. And also family, my mom and my sister were consistently there. I knew I could talk to them at any point. You know, they were all the way back home, so couldn't be physically present to help me out, but like always there to lend some encouragement, always there to listen. So that was very, very helpful. And I went to therapy to deal with the anxiety that I was feeling about the pregnancy because it had gotten out of hand. So grateful that I started therapy. That also helped me talk through all the things that I was feeling. Yeah. What I would do differently, I think I would move my body a little bit more. They did tell me that if I move a little bit more, the pain would be bearable. It was in a sense, but I didn't move as much as I could have moved. So I think I would definitely do that differently. And I do think if I had also been prior to pregnancy, if I had been like a bit more fit, I think in my head, I'm thinking that could have helped. So I intend to be a bit more fit by the time I go for number two, lose a bit more weight, and just make moving my body a lifestyle. I think those are the things that I would do differently the next time around. And I already spoke about the other one, which is like to be mindful of the media that I consume, because I've seen how it can mess with your head. It can really mess with your head. So yeah. But apart from that, yeah, pregnancy went the way it went. Hey, It was hard. On a scale of, on a rating of 1 to 5, I give it 2 stars. 1 star is for feeling the baby move, because that is just priceless. And then the second star, what is the second star for? I remember I knew why I gave this a second 2 stars. Is it? Maybe I'll say because my hair grew. apart from that, apart from that, pregnancy was a non-starter experience for me. I did not enjoy pregnancy at all. But I think before I go, I just want to talk about. I just want to talk to someone who's in a season where they've prayed for something and they're feeling. They've prayed for something and worked hard for it and wished for it, and now it's here and they find themselves from time to time sitting in sadness. And I want to say that the two are not mutually exclusive. You can be full of joy and you can be grateful and you can be living in an answered prayer, yet that does not take away the fact that sometimes the answered prayer comes with a lot more responsibility, a lot more weight, a lot more to carry than you could have anticipated. I think and maybe a lot of people pray for the blessing, but sometimes or often we don't pray for the capacity to handle the blessing or the strength to handle the blessing. And so sometimes the blessing comes, but maybe it finds us we're not ready, whether physically or financially or mentally. But it's okay. Basically, it's okay. The two can coexist. You can have joy and yet sometimes be sad because it's really hard. You can be really grateful and also wish it wasn't happening at that time, because life, unfortunately, is not one of those things where you can have just like one experience and run with it and then shelve the other one and say like, I'll pick up the grief later. Right now I'm running with happiness. Fortunately, life is a medley and sometimes you have to take the good with the bad. It's okay to have feelings of sadness and maybe a little bit of regret or feeling a bit dejected. That doesn't take away your gratitude for the blessing. But what's important is to be able to snap yourself out of that and to be able to still count your blessings and recall that there's a time, not in the distant past, where you wished you could be where you are right now. And also to look at the silver lining, because almost always there's a silver lining and there's something that you can look at and be like, that is the goal and I'll get there. Yeah, so it's okay. You're not the only one. We've all been there. I was deep in it. But here I am, happy, content, and I would not trade my baby for anything else. I would trade the pregnancy for something else, but not my baby. So yeah, that is me and my pregnancy journey. I can't wait to share the next details about my labor and the general care that I received as a pregnant woman in terms of the hospitals with the NHS in the UK. I can't wait to share and give reviews about the stuff that I've used for baby, that I found useful and I found useless. And then finally, I can't just wait to just take you along on this journey of motherhood as I figure it out. I'm excited. I hope you're excited and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please just drop them in there. Otherwise, I look forward to reading to your comments. And please like, please share, please subscribe. Please tell your friends to tell their friends to tell their friends to subscribe. And yeah, I'll see you